said, excuse me, but you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, cross the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what? You better go get your numbers up.
Hey folks, the MCU'S Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast in the house on, what is it today? 4/9/25, Wednesday evening, or whatever time it happens to be when you consume this, whether it be in digital or podcast form. We're here collaborating as usual with Daredevil, Born Again. We've got a new slate of guests here on our guest panel, and I'll introduce them right off the bat. Sam and Toniann, thank you so much for joining us from Fangirl Confessions Podcast. We really genuinely appreciate it. Sam, it's good to meet you. And Toniann, I'm sure you guys, I know have a lot to talk about when it comes to Daredevil, and that's why we wanted to bring you around. We wanted to get that, feminine Daredevil energy or whatever, injected into our reviews. So with us as usual, my co-host Cyberneticshark, and I'm just a pop culture guy. And we're here to get after it, do Daredevil episode 8, continue our breakdowns. We've got one episode left, and that'll be it. That'll be the end of Daredevil. So my first question, as I just mentioned in the studio before we started, and I'll start with you, Sam, was what's been your impression of Daredevil as a whole, as a series, since they shifted it over from Netflix to Disney Plus and everything, as Daredevil fans, where are you at kind of with the show so far? Through the season, through episode 8, at least.
I think Daredevil Born Again so far, I feel like it's still trying to find its footing as establishing itself as the rebooted show. So when the first episode premiered, I wanted to keep an open mind because the fans have been wanting the show to come out or, come back to the MCU for so long. So I can't be too critical or too bratty about the show and not too nitpicky. So I'm honestly just trying to enjoy the ride and just enjoy that Daredevil's finally back. So far, I think you can tell which episodes were pre-overhaul, and then you can tell the other episodes were post creative overhaul, which I think is a good and bad thing. But I think it's clear that the creative overhaul episodes are so amazing, and it's just a difference in quality and storytelling. So I'm really hopeful that now that they know what direction they want the show to go in, I'm super hopeful for the finale and also season 2. So that's my impression so far. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also heeding caution while watching it.
Wow, so you have zero gripes with Daredevil. Okay, so Toniann, since you guys are joining our guest panel for your first episode of Daredevil with us, tell me this. If you could give me your answer on that same question, just what are your thoughts and totality of Daredevil so far as a show?
So my thoughts reflect a lot of Sam's as well. I mean, I know Sam feels the same way. Daredevil means a lot to us. So this is our child, going to a new school, and we're is it gonna turn out well? You can definitely tell a difference though. I've noticed definitely with the character of Matt Murdock from Netflix Daredevil to this new MCU Disney Plus Daredevil. I still love the Netflix one more. I know a lot of people are oh, Born Again's better, but I still think the Netflix one is superior. But episode 8 really blew me away and made me this is going way more in the right direction than I thought it was gonna go. But like Sam said, you can tell with the directors and the overhaul, this is the way Charlie and Vincent wanted it to go the whole show. So I'm excited for the last 2 episodes, definitely.
All right, so Cyberneticshark, sir, same question to you, since we are this far into the show, and we, I guess it's sort of a recap. We've done all the episodes so far. What's your take? I mean, especially from from what you've seen of the Netflix show compared to what they've done with Disney Plus, kind of where are you at with the show so far? What are your thoughts?
Basically, my thoughts are I have been enjoying it. I think it's a great series. I enjoyed the what I've watched of the first 3 seasons of the Netflix Daredevil, and I like what they're doing with it. I like the difference in the characters in this version versus what we saw on the Netflix, because it has to be kind of altered a little bit because they're now fitting into the MCU's narrative. So we're going to definitely see some different characterization. They have grown since we last saw them in season 3 of Netflix Daredevil. And so we're going to see some definitely different characterizations of these characters. Plus also they've had years to kind of, think about kind of what could they do with the character if they come back. So I think that Disney's doing a great job with it. I think it's a really well done season so far. Especially with what they had to do, with overhauling it and everything after the writer's strike, and I've been enjoying it very much.
Okay, sir. Andre's the pop culture guy. Same question, sir.
I've been fairly enjoying this show. I think it's. I think it's showing like the craftsmanship and love that they care about the character of Daredevil, and I think this is definitely a good Disney Plus show so far. I think it hasn't done the worst sins of the other Disney Plus shows. So far, the pacing is pretty good. I really like the direction that we're taking with Matt and Kingpin as characters, after so many years. And so I really appreciate that. One thing I think this episode, we'll discuss episode 8, that I appreciate is that we're finally paying off, the major plot lines, not go into it like Adam, the Vanessa affair. Like, I'm happy we pay off that. The first episode of this season, we're really paying off that, which I'm very happy about. So I think right now I'm really appreciating that the show is doing that, which is good because that shows the signs of a strong show. Yeah, I agree. With our guest here, Samantha, and her, her partner in crime, that. Yeah, you can definitely tell the reshoots and revamp from the new creative team. Not as bad as other reshoots some of the MCU projects have. So like, thank goodness it hasn't gone that far. But there's a lot of nitpicks and complaint I can have when we get to the finale next week. Like particularly the Muse. I kind of wish we had more Muse as a character, but. At the same time, I think this episode showed me that this storyline, they care a lot, and that was the main point throughout this first season. So I'm very hopeful for the major improvements, and the now they feel confident moving forward into the next season, which is next year, which is good. So yeah, I'm very happy where we're getting right now with the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Tony Ann. I prefer the Netflix Daredevil personally so far over what we've gotten from the Disney Plus Daredevil personally. I mean, I think Daredevil's been pretty solid, but I've been not so happy with the how short some of the episodes have been at times throughout the series. I think Daredevil's better when it's like an hour long, like it used to, like it was on Netflix, like I like that. That's how I like my Daredevil, So like the short episodes, and then the lack of action, I agree that episode 8 has a lot of good things going on for it, and we'll discuss that, momentarily. But honestly, there's been a dearth of action and violence. That's not been there, with the show that they had going with the Netflix Daredevil that I really appreciated, that really added a lot to the atmosphere, of Daredevil, like on screen when you'd have a lot of dialogue heavy moments, you'd still have that vibe, that Daredevil vibe. And I feel like they're doing some good things with this Disney Plus Daredevil, but it's just not quite, kind of at that same level. Is what Netflix and Marvel Television did, together, 10 years ago or whatever, when they first started. But so the way that Daredevil episode 8 basically starts is they go back to doing the split screening, like where they basically have scenes where they're doubling up, like they're jumping off of Kingpin and Matt at the same time. Sort of, like jumping back and forth between their different scenes, like they've done in previous episodes, throughout the reviews we've done. I've enjoyed them doing that for the most part whenever they've gone to that sort of like dual scene action. But it starts off with a lot of heavy dialogue, which you see a lot of in episode 8, between Vanessa and Kingpin, and then going right to Matt and his girlfriend, who I can never remember her name ever. Just
Heather.
Heather, thank you. Because she doesn't stand out to me a lot, like on the show. I'll be honest with you.
She's super normal. That's why she's very normal.
She's just not like she doesn't excite me very much, But so they're having like a tiff, over like this new version of kind of this different version of Matt Murdock, that has like all these emotions now on the show. Like they're having like an argument, over Fisk, because like Matt's finding out for the first time that she's been counseling, the Fisks or whatever, and all that. And Buck, Kingpin's goon, shows up at her apartment or at Matt's apartment to see her, which obviously pisses Matt off, right? So, and it flexes back over to Kingpin revealing to Vanessa the imprisonated ex-lover or whatever, like finally, like in the dungeon, right? She's presented with that situation and given the opportunity basically to free him, if she wants to, essentially. Well, I mean, with Kingpin right there, I don't know what would actually happen if she did that. But she could free him kind of the way that they shot it, like she had the option to get the key and like open the door. But instead, she like grabs the gun and like shoots the fucking guy, right? After Kingpin told her, like, I can't live without you, essentially. Or whatever, or something like that. Like, he's not even, like, I'm not alive if I'm not with you, or something like that. So it was really deep shit, right? And essentially, what ends up coming out of, like, the tiff between Matt and Heather is that he agrees to go to this, like, black and white, ball or whatever that the mayor has, or whatever that, that Fisk has, and that's sort of, like, the end of that, like, sort of, dual scene montage that they start with that opens up the show. And we also see Bullseye for the first time. Again, we see Poindexter, in prison, basically, right? Getting thrown into general population, where I guess he has a lot of enemies or whatever, right? The way they make it seem is like he has a lot of enemies in there. So that's kind of how things start off with episode 8. Like, that's kind of like, the baseline of it. I'll again start off with one of you ladies to get us going. Toniann, what did you think of like that opening sequence that I just laid out, for episode 8?
What are we talking about, Matt and Fisk, or are we talking about
the whole everything that happened, everything that I laid out up to stopping at that point?
So I've been really liking the Matt and Fisk parallels because it shows that they're both like reverting back to who they were. They both were like, I'm done with the mask, I'm done with being Kingpin. And obviously neither of them are. I have been very interested in Vanessa's character since the first episode because I was just like, she has to do more. And when she revealed that she loves the power, I knew that she wasn't gonna free Adam. Like, Adam's not gonna give her anything, not gonna give her the power that Fisk can. So I loved that. And I also noticed when Matt and Heather were fighting, it's like they were fighting because Matt won't tell her the truth. So it's like he's fighting like his own demons. And then Heather's just like there, like, oh, but I want to go to this because it's the mayor. But she obviously doesn't know that, one, Matt's Daredevil. And she was talking mad crap about vigilantes, which was crazy. I was dying when she was talking about that. They're just like, what did she say? Like, they're like little boys in masks or whatever. I was like,
yeah, she ruminates a lot on the Daredevil Muse situation from episode 7.
Yeah, so I was wondering when that was happening, like, is he ever going to reveal to her that he is Daredevil, or is he just going to keep? I don't know. But I really enjoyed the whole Bullseye aspect of the episode a lot more. And Sam knows, like, I wasn't the biggest Bullseye fan, but after this episode, he is goated to me. So I loved that. And I know Sam has a lot to say about it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
You take it. Okay. I've known Bullseye has been goated since season 3. I just want to say I've been a Bullseye truther since season 3. So the thing that I love about Born Again is that we were given like such a great backstory and such great character depth to Dex and who Bullseye is. Like, he's not just a homicidal maniac. Like, they gave him an origin story. And obviously at the end of season 3, they teased him becoming Bullseye with the bullseye in his eye when he's getting his surgery in his back. So the thing I love about Born Again is that they're finally going to, it looks like they're already like fleshing out Bullseye to become like his true form. And I just want to say episode 8 started out with that blue rose, and I knew it was starting us off with Bullseye. And I thought it was just so brilliant and just beautiful with the blue imagery. There's so much I could say about the color blue. Like for me, the whole episode was just Bullseye. Like, never mind Matt and Fisk and Vanessa and Heather and everything. It was such a good way for him to really like just shine as a villain and also show us what the motivation was behind killing Foggy, and Matt putting the pieces together throughout the episode. It was just literally just incredible. I really love this episode because of that.
Okay. Andres.
Yeah, so this opening was really good. This is where I say the show is finally kind of like shaping as its own like identity here by like paying off the plot points here, which was great. I was very excited when I saw the blue rose, as Samantha brought up before. I knew it was Bullseye. Obviously it has a lot of the blue has a lot of themes and everything like that. But if the costume that Bullseye always uses is always blue, so I was like, oh, that's a cool way to because red is Daredevil and then blue is Bullseye. So I kind of like how they set us up that. And obviously, if you don't know from season 3, before Poindexter was going to be a villain, he was an FBI agent. So that's how Fix, because Fix was under arrest, he was in house arrest, and like he saw the potential Poindexter as like a mean to his crime during that season. And so the fact that they were going to put him in a gem pop, I was like, oh my god, with a bunch of criminals that he probably put in bars while he was an FBI agent. So I was like, oh dear lord. So yeah, and I did agree with one of you brought up before, the parallel between Kingpin and Matt. Like, I really appreciate that because they're the yin yang, and they're not like they're not different, but they're like completely similar people. Just different werewolf. Like Matt wants to help the city, where Kingpin wants to save the city, but not in the way that's like positive, right? So like it's so strange where you see like Kingpin's relationship is now improving, and then Matt is literally making his relationship way worse, with the Daredevil stuff, which is kind of interesting. And I was like, particularly Vanessa, I agreed. I wanted to see more Vanessa in this part. I was so happy we got confirmation of several things. Like, Vanessa did set up Luca from the last episode to be killed. So she was behind the trap. So that was good to get that confirmed. And then obviously, her killing Adam was totally not I was expecting. I was like, whoa. And it just showed that, she's, is still in love with Kingpin. So like now their relationship is stronger. So yeah, I think this opening section was really great. I was right away very excited and more like engaged with this episode than say last episode was, where it was kind of disappointing. So very happy with this section.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Cyber, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
So the beginning of the episode is pretty decent. As Andreas has just mentioned, it starts off pretty good. It gives you quite a bit of information. We get Fisk, basically showing his wife, the guy that, she was having the affair with, that he's been holding him, and he's, tells her, hey, I as I promised, I didn't kill him. And as we saw in the previous episode, he smashes them through walls and all this kind of stuff. So I would say that he did restrain himself and he didn't kill him. So I think that he did keep his word. But I think that was very interesting that they decided to go that route and show that right away in this episode and really move the story forward with that character and get, and then her shooting him. I was just like, "Ooh, she's just as bad as him." I'm like, "Damn." I'm like, "Wow." We got a Fisk 2.0 on our hands. We got another Kingpin. And then, of course, the whole relationship between Matt and his girlfriend has kind of been throughout the whole season here. It's been kind of, up and down, most definitely, with how they're doing it. And you're not sure 100% just where it's going to go, because of all the deception that him having to not tell her that he's Daredevil. And that's something, and as we've seen him kind of come back to being Daredevil, that also has kind of, changed and altered their relationship too. So I think that kind of this whole opening sequence with them, it was, coming forth. We knew that this was going to happen, kind of like a blow up kind of going on. I'm surprised it took this long to get to that point. So, them basically having kind of that conversation leading to him. Yes, I'll be at the black tie with you. It's pretty basic. I feel it's very, as has been mentioned, his girlfriend is very like a normal girlfriend. So I could see why they were trying to make that seem a little more simplistic. And I feel that really kind of draws you more into it being like more realistic, I feel. So I think they did a good job there. And then, of course, leading up to, seeing Bullseye once again, Poindexter again at the prison, was, kind of interesting because we kind of haven't seen him really since the first two episodes. So it was like, we're kind of like, where is he coming in again? We know he has something to do with Fisk and all this kind of stuff. So when's he going to pop up again? And then he pops up finally in this episode. And him getting transferred to Gen Pop was a really horrible idea. Not because they thought that, they think he was going to be killed by the general population, but I think that was a bad idea because you allow a guy that is so skilled like he is into that, like he's going to find some way to get out. And that's just not a good idea. So him kind of feeling threatened for his life too, as we kind of saw there when he's put back into Gen Pop, you're kind of like, really? You're a ruthless killer and you're kind of like that? I'm like, okay, all right, okay. I don't get that, but all right, okay. But I think it's very interesting what they're doing with Poindexter, Bullseye. It's kind of leading us into an interesting direction with the character, and I'm very interested in seeing where exactly it will completely lead us to, and kind of his character arc and kind of where his future lies. So I think that the beginning section is pretty decent, gets you into the episode, and I think is pretty well done.
Okay. Thank you, Cyber. So basically, there's kind of like the way the episode kind of works, is there's kind of like a middle spot of the episode, that we kind of end up with where we see Matt kind of head back to work, and finds out about Poindexter being put into Gen Pop, right? And that it was Fisk that did it. And, basically that stokes the fire in him, and encourages him to, to start to kind of, continue, his headspace of being kind of obsessed with, with Fisk. And now he is, with Poindexter because Poindexter wants to talk to him essentially. Right. Fisk, has a meeting and makes the guy Daniel, that scuzzbag Daniel, gives him some higher up position, like in like the communications or whatever of the campaign, or of the or like with the mayor, for leaning on BB like he did, and basically we see Matt like at work again, using his abilities to like call out like a lying client, and you can see that Matt is like super frustrated with lawyering kind of at this point, he almost seems like he's kind of over it. Matt goes to Josie's and like has a drink there, and Cherry shows up, and Matt's still overthinking the whole Bullseye Kingpin stuff and all that, but he has like an epiphany based off of like a drink that Josie offers him about Foggy's death, that, that causes him, to kind of, have like a, no shit moment. So Matt goes to see Poindexter in prison, and asks him straight up if Fisk hired him to kill Foggy. Poindexter kind of fucks him around a little bit and tries to deal with Matt, and Matt like bashes his head into the fucking table like 3 or 4 times, and bloodies him up real nice, right? So there's a little bit of like action, a little bit of violence in this episode. So I'll stop there before we go into the actual, the black and white event or whatever that that they have with Kingpin. And I'll start with you, Cyber. What did you think, sir, of that sort of middle of the episode before we get into like the final part with the black and white ball?
I mean, this section is pretty basic in, kind of giving you that kind of mystery thriller type of aspect, I feel. Like that very lawyerish feel, kind of like Law and Order and so forth, like I've mentioned in previous episodes, with Matt kind of coming to revelations as the episode goes on. Him going to the firm and everything and having kind of that flip out with that guy being a liar and everything, and definitely his partner being upset and that kind of stuff, I think is kind of interesting. But you definitely could tell that, Matt is way more concerned about being Daredevil again and fixing things and getting Fisk where he needs him to be and stop him and stuff like that. So, that the lawyer stuff is kind of on the back burner for him. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel that new partner, there's definitely something suspicious about her. And, I feel that later when we get to the scene where the drink basically makes him remember the night before Foggy's shot, we see her there drinking with them, and I'm like, I don't recall her being there a part of the firm at that time, because that was before Foggy died. I thought she came in after Foggy died, and so that kind of confused me, and I was like, okay, maybe I saw it wrong, I don't know. But
they met her that night.
So anyways, I think that she's still suspicious. I think she's very suspicious. I think that down the road, there's going to be something very suspicious about her. And she has some other motive behind why she's working for, Murdoch and Associates. And so definitely in that sequence there, I felt at the office, definitely something I felt was off about her. But definitely you could see that Matt was really consumed by what he was consumed by. And I feel he's very justified in that feeling, and that he needs to do what he's got to do, because we need him to become Daredevil 100% again. So, after he goes, like I said, goes to the thing, we have the bar thing. And as I was mentioned about, her being there and stuff like that. And him basically coming to the revolution that he was already celebrating because he knew he was going to win. Like, that is odd. And like, how did he know he was going to win before they even did the case? And so that, that gets things ringing and belling and all that kind of good stuff. And it made me keep thinking like, oh, what else is behind this? Like, besides, that Poindexter definitely was hired to kill Foggy. And so when he goes to the prison to see Bullseye, that scene is quite interesting, them having that heated kind of conversation and everything. And you're just kind of like, okay, what's going to happen here? He's going to beat him up, isn't he? He's going to get pissed and he's going to beat him up, because of, pent up aggression from, not dealing with, Foggy's death. And, so when he starts beating his head into the table, I was like, yes, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah. But that was also such a bad idea, too, at the same time, because that basically gives Bullseye some leverage on something. And I'm like, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, God, he sent him to the infirmary. That's not going to be a good thing. No, it's not going to be a good thing. And so I think that whole scene is very well crafted, too, because you can see kind of it's kind of that almost that courtroom drama a little bit there again, with him like basically kind of badgering the witness or trying to get information out of him. And you can see that Bullseye is definitely thinking of things, but he's not saying certain things. And he's got more mystery to talk about that he hasn't mentioned. So all these characters that are kind of kind of becoming vital character arcs later here in the season. It's going to be really interesting to see how they overflow into season 2. And if we see them again, or if they get killed off or what, and what, MCU decides to do. Because these characters have really become very, I think, adventurous, very interesting, very, you want to see what they're going to do and what they're going to be about. So I think that this section is decent too, a good part of the episode. And overall, I think it really leads well into the conclusion of the episode.
Okay, Sam, what do you? I know this middle part's kind of boring, but is there anything in there that you could talk about? For that part of the episode.
I actually thought this middle part was like my favorite. I loved the conversation between Dex and Matt, and I actually thought it was really interesting that Dex wanted to speak to Matt. Again, like it goes back to just the depth of his character. He's not just a homicidal maniac. Like he does want to talk to Matt, and I'm sure both of them have questions. And even in that scene, Dex was like, "I have some questions too." And Matt obviously wants to know if Fisk hired him to kill his best friend, Foggy. And I love that middle sequence so much because, like you said, Cybernetic, like there's so many new questions that have been raised, and I'm curious to see. There's only one episode left, so I'm really curious to see if we'll actually get all those answers in the finale. But I loved the conversation between Matt and Dex. I didn't appreciate Matt's anger in the room with him. It was obviously justified, but I loved we never really got like a Matt Murdock and Dex interaction in season 3. It was always Dex and Matt, like when he was talking to him on the phone in the black vigilante suit. So it was cool to see them like interact and actually talk to each other. And then like Dex kind of sitting there like, do you think I'm one of those animals in there? Like, do you think I really belong here? It's like who's the predator and who's the prey. I love that scene a lot. And then obviously I think there was a lot of foreshadowing in that scene too, because Dex is sitting there and he's like, in another life, you'd probably be defending me. Because isn't that what good men do? They defend their worst enemies. And obviously we know what happens in Act 3 of the episode. So that scene was beautiful. I loved it. I loved the foreshadowing. I loved the tension between them. And like Matt, I feel like Matt almost he's so blinded by like his rage towards Dex. He didn't even realize that him beating him like that could have given him the means to actually escape the prison. And I can't wait till we see the next episode and see like how, when he realizes that like he's the reason that Dex even got to get out, basically.
Okay. Andres.
Yeah, so this section, I guess there's like I really like the stuff for the big section, and then I'm also frustrated at the same time. Very weird because so I kind of agree with everyone, about the Dex and Matt conversation in the prison, because it's so good. I think the writing, the dialogue there was really great. But yeah, because season 3 we didn't really see them interacting as like they're civilian, and then it was always like Dexter was pretending to be Daredevil, where Matt was, they were like in their superhero villain like disguises, and I don't like. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. I've seen season 3 that he knows his identity as well. So I was very like happy to see them like interacting one-on-one, and I it's just really enjoy the rally of the plot here, which is another frustration because now they're like, when we got this now information about Foggy's death, and someone like either Fix or someone else like did a hit on Nelson to like not to like go into this case that we don't know from episode 1, so I feel like they should have worked on that a bit more this whole season. But I mean, I cannot really fault them because they were trying to like revamp the whole season. so that was my frustrating part. Is like now we're adding this like another plot that like okay, I get is foggy, but like was this case so important now? You know, it's like it should have been important throughout this whole season. So that's my gripe and nitpick during this section. But I really like Matt struggling to like balance his work life. You know, the fact that he's like less paying attention to his whole job, like the fact that he badmouthed the client was like really shocking. And like McDuff, Kristen, was kind of like, what are you doing? This is our client, stuff like that. And so, it just shows how Matt is like very frustrated, like at this point with Kingpin and like his whole effort as mayor stuff. So that was really good. But yeah, this section was really good. I like the stuff with the Dexter, the Point Dexter stuff, but the raveling plot of Foggy and like this case that he did before he died was the reason he got hit by Bullseye. As like, okay, I don't really need that, but we'll see how it goes, because now we get into the final part of this episode. It's very intriguing, and I'm like hooked.
Okay. Toniann, round us out, will you? Do you have anything to say about that middle section of the episode?
I think everyone said a lot of the thoughts I already had, but I also think that this middle part showed like a human side of Dex. Like in the first episode, we got like straight away, like he killed a beloved character. Like he was written off for a lot of people. Like he's just a villain. And I think this episode, like when he was scared to go into Gen Pop, I was like, that's a real human emotion he's showing. Like, I was not expecting that. And I did really enjoy his conversation with Matt. But I was also annoyed because Matt is smarter than to just walk in and give Dex exactly what he wants, a reason to get his hands on something that he can kill somebody with. Like, he was like, Sam said, blinded by his own rage. And he's just losing. He let go of Daredevil. And in that, he lost control of like also Matt Murdock, because there's like, I feel like he has no idea what's going on. Like the whole episode, he's not paying attention to Heather. He's not really paying attention to anything else besides like honing in on now Dex and Foggy and everything. So I think this episode showed like this Matt that we're seeing is like, he's not on par to what at least we're used to with the Netflix Matt, because he's always on top of it. Like he would outsmart Dex some way, but Matt literally just walked in on it, did exactly what Dex wanted him to do, and then was like, F you. And then he thought he did something. And I was like, bro, you did everything wrong. Everything in that scene was wrong. But I thought it was cool as hell the way Dex did everything. So
he did say F you, didn't he?
Yep. I was clapping when he did that. I was like, finally. He said it before in a previous episode, right? Like he said.
Did he?
Said it.
Did he drop the F-bomb more than once?
Yeah.
He said, fuck it.
Oh. Yes. In episode 3, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it was the one right before. It was episode 6. It was episode 6.
Oh, okay.
When he like puts on the suit to go attack Muse.
Yeah.
To save Hector's niece, Angela.
Yes.
I think.
You gotta count the F-bombs when it's Disney Plus.
Yeah. So now it's 2. Now it's
honestly,
no, they said
they say it a lot this show.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Disney, like we get it. You're letting them say the
they're slowly. They're Marvel Television is progressing when it comes to like like this.
I feel like can I say something about that though? I feel like they saw the criticisms, or they felt the pressure with the Netflix show because like it was so dark and gritty. And then when they hear that Daredevil's coming to Disney Plus, they're like, oh great, it's gonna be like campy, this and that. So I feel like they're trying to prove themselves by being like, see, we can be dark and gritty. We're gonna let them say the F-bomb, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like you don't have to prove yourself that way. Like for me, I feel like I like a natural F-bomb, but I sometimes feel like in the show it feels a little bit forced.
It is.
Some of the characters say it.
It's almost like a flex that they have.
Yeah. I think
it's like when like a third. No, when Matt says it, it's fine. But like, there's other characters that I'm just like, it just feels like it's like a 13-year-old who just like discovered the curse word and is like, I'm gonna use it all the time. That's how I see Disney Plus with like the darker language, I guess.
It's a little hit or miss, unfortunately. Like what we've gotten so far with their TV MA like offerings or whatever. We had Echo. that was kind of, hit or miss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I loved Echo. I'm an Echo stan.
Oh, you were an Echo fan?
Yes, I loved it. I thought it was good. I know I'm like the only one. Me and Sam. Well, I don't know if Sam likes as much as I do, but I loved it.
I liked Echo. I liked it.
Yeah, we stayed up all night together and watched.
We watched the whole series.
Yeah.
We really did.
What about that finale?
Honestly, I don't even remember what happened.
I don't remember. I can't remember.
Good. It's probably a good thing that you don't remember.
I'm gonna watch it again because
As a refresher.
yeah, because I don't really remember what happened in the finale.
Andres, you remember the glowing hands finale? Cyber,
Yeah.
you remember the glowing hands?
I remember No, he doesn't remember. Yeah, I just remember. Yeah, her like
They were stupid.
yeah, like accessing like the ancestry like for the decades.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then like
All the ancestors came back or whatever, like on Earth
Yeah.
or whatever, to fight Kingpin or whatever.
yeah, that was. I mean, it was the show had potential. Like I thought the first 3 were good, and then up to we got to 4, it was where it kind of got downhill because you could tell they had to cut one the episode.
How do you only do 4 episodes of a show?
I don't know. It was 5 episodes. Remember?
Was it 5?
Yeah, it was like just 5.
Yeah.
It wasn't 6. It was weird.
I think they
Yeah.
were testing it out because no one
Yeah.
was really paying attention to Echo. And I think they need to do more with her because having someone who's deaf is so important. And especially like with Matt being blind and her being deaf, like we can do so many things. There are so many comic storylines we can do. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping I liked when they mentioned her when Matt and Fisk had the conversation and he like mentioned Maya Lopez and how she shot him in the face. But
Yeah.
I don't blame her as a character or the actress or whatever, like for what happened with the Echo series or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think those are creative decisions that are beyond like, her, like what her role is, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So like, I wouldn't have a problem if they brought her back in some function. She does seem to work well with Daredevil on screen, like they have a good vibe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was okay in Hawkeye,
Yeah. I think they just need to flesh out some characters some more and then bring them all together. Do you know what I mean? So then like because people like I didn't remember what happened in the finale. Imagine the people don't even remember who Echo is.
The only way they'd ever bring that character back would be in something like Daredevil, and I just don't think they have any space in Daredevil to fit her into what they already want to do with Daredevil.
Unless Matt uses her against Kingpin in some way. That's the only way I can picture it.
Or I can see like I wish the Defenders did this. Like maybe Matt recruits again the Defenders and have Echo join them so they could face Kingpin because
we're going to see Jessica Jones in season 2 of Daredevil, so we know that. So that's going to be cool. Like they're bringing back some of the Defenders characters. You know what I'm saying? I love it if they brought Luke Cage back in Daredevil season 2. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So all right, where we end up at basically in the episode after that middle part is the ball, the suit and tie, the black and white ball or whatever that Fisk has. And we see Fisk come out with Vanessa, like to start it off, and everything in front of the spotlight and all that. Bullseye gets free. We see, we have the scene where we see Bullseye get free. It's very violent. Although they don't show a lot of blood because it is Disney Plus, but there's a lot of him throwing stuff and killing people and stuff like that. Like usual Bullseye stuff. So Matt's girlfriend Heather shows up at the ball solo at first. Like there's no Matt, because he went to see Bullseye. Bullseye gets on a bus. Like out of prison. So he's like, officially gotten away, kind of. Vanessa tells Matt's girlfriend, Heather, her and Fisk are basically like good now. Like they don't need therapy anymore or whatever, like they're good. I guess because she shot dude, so now they're all good. The Fisk task force goons, like, because this like waiter takes a picture, they like take him into the fucking kitchen and like burn his hand in the fryer. Which is like pretty crazy. And the commissioner comes in and is like, hey, don't do that. And the guy's like, that one asshole guy's like, fuck you, bro. Like, I'm burning this dude's hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an assault, he says, or whatever, you know, after he burns the dude's hand. So BB talks to the commissioner, right? They got rid of the BB reports. I like those segments, but they got rid of those, unfortunately, a while ago, a couple of episodes ago. But BB's in the episode. You see her with Daniel. She talks to the commissioner, and he tells her that he has, you know, all this dirt on Fisk and all that, you know, and like dirt on the task force dudes and all that shit, right? And she's like, okay, you know, I'm going to get back to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I got to, like, you know, play my part, you know, like right now with like the Fisk people, you know? So it ends up being, you know, Matt and Heather again, arguing again, you know, there's a lot of Matt and Heather arguing in the episode, you know, like, and that seems to be all they do. I thought this was going to be the episode where they revealed like his secret identity to her. I thought that's what episode 8 was going to be. But I guess they're going to save that for episode 9 or something like that, you know, because she knows. It's obvious that she knows that he's Daredevil. I'm telling you. Or else she's really stupid if she hasn't figured it out yet. So they're arguing, right? And all of a sudden, Kingpin and Vanessa are dancing right as Matt's like walking up to them, you know. So Matt, like, Bullseye shows up at the ball, right? Buck lets Fisk know that Bullseye's been escaped. And Matt cuts into Vanessa and Kingpin's dance and dances with Vanessa after he's had another epiphany and realized by listening to, you know, the conversation between her and Fisk that it was her that was behind Foggy's death, not Fisk. So he accuses her of that. She comes back at him and she's like, does your girlfriend know that you're Daredevil? You know, because she got to remember, Vanessa knows that Daredevil about, you know, his secret identity too, not just Kingpin, right? And right at that point, Bullseye somehow has a sniper rifle all of a sudden, and like shoots at Kingpin, and Matt takes the bullet for Kingpin, and that's how the episode ends. That's the crescendo, right? It doesn't show whether they caught Bullseye. Like, all you see is like the task force guys and Buck, like, with their handguns and shit, like, you know, like kind of like, you know, saving Kingpin, bringing them back, you know, and Vanessa back to safety. But that's basically it. That's the end of the episode. It was a quick episode, you know. But that's the final section. And Cyber, I'll start with you, sir. What did you think of that final, you know, that whole ball section?
I enjoyed the ball section. That doesn't sound right. I enjoyed the black and white party. That doesn't sound right either. Jesus. Anyways, I enjoyed the party sequence for Mayor Fisk's inaugural credenza, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was really fun because, you know, I knew Bullseye was going to show up there. I knew that, you know, Poindexter, as soon as we saw that he had escaped. And like I said before, you know, Matt beating him up gave him the opportunity of that tooth popping out and him being able to use that to take out that one guard. And I was like, what the hell? Like, how the hell do you do that with a tooth? I'm like, well, that's interesting. And so, you know, him escaping and everything was just like, this was inevitable. I knew it. And so then we get to the actual, you know, party event. And of course, you know, Matt is fashionably late and he gets there, you know, and we can see that, you know, the girlfriend is, you know, upset, definitely, you know, because he didn't tell her he was coming officially. But I felt like he did kind of say he was coming when he left the door, but I don't know, miscommunication. But anyways, you know, so we get that whole sequence there, and we see Fisk doing stuff with different people, talking to him. We get the guy from Hawkeye popping up again, the swordsman guy, which I thought that was funny as hell when he popped up in the other episode. I was like, hey, I'm like, no way. And then it was pointed out to me that he was from Hawkeye. I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot about him. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm like, that's funny seeing him again. And, you know, he pops up again here, and they have that conversation, him and Fisk, and like kind of him threatening him. And you're just like, okay. You know, we definitely see in this episode Kingpin becoming more Kingpin-ish, which, you know, is really nice to see, because going from what he was like in the original series to seeing how he was to start off the season, you're kind of like, what the hell happened to him? You're like, oh. So definitely this sequence here at the party definitely gives you an idea of him becoming more and more Fisk. and becoming the kingpin again, I should say. He is always Fisk, but he's becoming more the kingpin again. And then Matt showing up and starts eavesdropping on different conversations. You're like, oh, this is awesome. I know a lot of people saying, I kind of sick of hearing the eavesdropping thing with his ears, and I'm like, the dude is blind. What do you expect him to do? See it? I'm sorry. He's going to use the ability he has that's going to be stronger because he has no vision. So using the hearing thing, I think, is a really clever thing, because what would Daredevil have that would be more enhanced? His hearing, because he's a blind man. And so I think that's been fun, and I think that we get some great conversations that he's overhearing. I mean, the scene with the cops taking that reporter guy and burning his hand in the vat of oil, that hurts. I've been splashed by boiling oil, and it hurts tremendously. So I can imagine that all over my hand. That would just be horrendous to feel. And how he's like, this is not assault, and then he puts his hand in the vat as that commissioner guy's telling him about this stuff. I'm just like, whoa, these guys are just idiots, and they are just building themselves a bigger grave eventually when they get screwed over by Fisk of some sort. And then BB having the conversation with the commissioner, I thought that was really interesting. That really gave you kind of that great kind of vibe-ish lawyer feel again, giving us that information. We're learning a little bit things. We find out that Fisk is a suspect, the main suspect in her father's death or uncle's death. And I was like, who's this relative that we forgot about? I'm like, please reiterate this, because I don't remember. I'm like, this is interesting. And I thought that was really good. But Matt taking the bullet for Fisk, I was like, what the hell did he just do? I'm like, that's idiotic. I'm like, why? Why? Is this a part of your plan to get shot, Matt? I was just thinking that was kind of odd. But at the same time, is it also a ploy for him to get closer to Fisk to make him think, oh, maybe there's something more to Daredevil that I can use or something like that he can get into the inside to really take down Fisk. So, there's definitely options there, but definitely leaving it where he got shot and you don't know what happens to him. You're just kind of like, I need episode 9. But I thought it was a really solid ending. I really enjoyed it. And I thought overall it was a really great conclusion to the episode.
Okay. I'm sorry, Toniann. I apologize.
That's okay. That happens a lot. I really liked, I don't think we mentioned it a lot as we were talking, but like the colors of when Bullseye's back is to the camera of blue, it really stood out to me when he was escaping prison, which I also don't understand how no one recognized him in the police uniform. But I digress. I was like, how did he just whatever? Okay, whatever. I like Cyber was saying about the senses. I really like that they're honing in on him hearing things. I feel like if you get annoyed by that, then like, did you watch the first Daredevil seasons? I don't understand. Like, it's always been a thing where like he can hear heartbeats and he can hear like far away. And I loved how you could hear the conversation of Fisk talking to Matt while talking to Vanessa, but he was actually talking to Matt. The ending left me like anxious because I'm like, one, why the hell did Matt do that? Like, why did I know Dex kind of prefaced that happening, but like, why? I don't know. But and like Dex looked very like flustered when he shot Matt instead of Fisk, which I thought was interesting. I want all my questions answered next episode because I have a lot now. And I'm hoping, I don't know, I kind of hope Matt leaves Heather only because I feel like she's too normal for him. And I know me and Sam feel this way, but like Elektra for life. Elektra and Matt are like destined. Like the other episode when Heather said I love you and Matt said it back, I was like, absolutely not. This would not happen. This is not real. Like he would not do this that fast, I feel. So I don't know. I just hope all my questions get answered next week.
Okay. Andres.
Yeah, so this section I was like very excited for. First off, seeing Bullseye in the hospital, like getting stitched, and then of course I when the guard was like kind of like unchanging him, we see him moving around his mouth. I was like, "What are you doing?" And then he does the teeth. And by the way, that is actually directly from the comic books, from I think the Michael Bendis run. So that was really cool. And the fact that they did it and like you see him shoot the teeth to the security guard was like crazy. I did not expect that. That was really cool. That made my moment of this episode was so fantastic. And then of course he kills the guard and the doctor. And yeah, I kind of agreed. Yeah, like why did anyone didn't recognize him? Like you think that I mean, first off, we got confirmation afterwards that Kingpin wanted to get him killed during that time. So like it was gonna be shady anyway. So that made a lot of sense. Then like none of the alarms and like everything from that prison like went off right away. So that made someone says I guess. But yeah, the whole bowl like the white and Gara kind of like scene was pretty cool. Seeing the swordsman again was really nice. You see now that Kingpin is now full on Kingpin blackmailing a lot of the people that were against the project. So he forced swordsman. Like we don't know what the swordsman's going to do if he either or not he will support the project. If not, the task force will go after him. So yeah, so I'm very curious about how's that gonna move forward. I'm kind of curious if he's gonna join the Daredevil one point in this next episode or in the future. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, it was kind of crazy to see the task force, doing their excessive force against that guy, and the commissioner feels so helpless because now, they're directly connected to Kingpin, so they're not working with the commissioner. They're not part of the law anymore. So it made sense that when BBC's commissioner, to discuss either to expose the task force for good, and obviously if you haven't seen the first season, she is the niece of Ben Urich, who's a very important comic book character that was in the first season. And so I was happy that they acknowledged that. She knew about the Kingpin did kill, well, was one of the main suspects of his murder. If you haven't seen the first season of Daredevil, so that was really interesting. I'm also kind of concerned because one of the guards was looking at the commissioner and seeing that conversation. So I hope he kind of makes it out alive, but we'll see. Um, yeah, and again, you're seeing the parallels between Kingpin and Vanessa. Kingpin and Matt's relationship with their women, being high and low. Like you're seeing how now that Vanessa and Kingpin are like intersect now, like they're now in the part of like, okay, we're in the same page, where Matt and Heather are not in the same page. They're like completely like falling apart, literally in the dance floor. Funny. But but the I think while they were talking, Kingpin, like I think gave more clues to her that Daredevil is Matt. I think that's I thought he did kind of tell her that, but in like such a like concrete like weird way. It's like, oh, why your boyfriend is like supporting this blah 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 and all that. So I think now this episode she knows that he's Daredevil. Hopefully we get that confirmation, because again, just like last week, I don't know why they're dragging this like to the seasons. Like, come on, like there's a lot of clues and evidence that Matt is Daredevil. And yeah, and then you see Bullseye coming into the to the party, and then he of course he grabs one of those like food things, and he kills one of the guards, and he has the sniper. And yeah, I was surprised that Matt wanted to save Kingpin, but I think because he didn't want maybe Poindexter to kill the wrong person, because now he knows that Vanessa is the one that like like kill Foggy for that, because now we got confirmation that Foggy's hit was from Vanessa, because Vanessa was part of the Empire while Fix was like away. Which I'm confused. Like, is it he was away from Echo, or like that's the part I'm a little confused. Like what they mean they're away? Like when he got shot? Like that's the part I want more confirmation. Like when he's been away, like the blip or like the events of Honkai leading into Echo, like that part, I'm like a little confused with the timeline for that. But overall, I thought this final section was fun. I agree with everyone. I really want to see episode 9 to get this, like, really get pay off all this like major plot points. So I was very happy of how we end this episode.
Okay, Sam.
So much happened in this last part. I don't even know where to start. I guess I should start with Dex's breakout. I love that they showed like how he can use his skills. He can literally turn anything into a weapon, and it's just so brilliant that they made him use like his broken tooth as the first thing that he uses to, break free. And then he just takes the like surgical scissors and like breaks them apart and just throws them. Oh my gosh, it was great. Love that scene. I also, Toniann brought this up with like the colors. Obviously love the usage of the colors. I have to give like credit to Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, because I just watched an interview that they did recently talking about this episode, and they talk about the colors like the whole time. They say Bullseye's blue, Kingpin is white, Daredevil's red. But something else that someone pointed out about colors, Vanessa was wearing a red dress, which is a Daredevil color, and then Heather's wearing a white dress, which is a Kingpin color. So I love that like contrast and juxtaposition. I love the small details. I absolutely love the colors. I guess following that, I wanted to talk about BB, because I kind of was wondering, like, does she know that does she know about her uncle, like being, that Fisk killed him? I was like, does she, like, what's the game here? So I'm really glad, like, at the end of the day, she's a Urich, and Ben Urich was such a great journalist, and I'm actually that was actually something I was upset that they did in season 1, that they killed him off. So I like that she still has that like journalism like blood, where she's like, I know what's going on, and I'm gonna use my skills and kind of be like a double agent sort of thing, and that she doesn't post articles under her name all the time, as she implied. Another thing that I liked, they're really showing us how corrupt the system is, and that like Matt can't keep defending this system. So obviously he's eventually going to become Daredevil again and like, come to his true nature. Like there's a reason his relationship with Heather is failing. There's a reason that he's like not feeling passionate about the law anymore. It's because he needs Daredevil. Like he can't just be a normal guy. He can't ignore his fate and ignore his destiny, So I love that they're showing the corruption, and I really feel for the commissioner when he witnessed that. That was like such a classic, I don't know, it was just like such a classic scene to me, like showing how, sometimes people in power can get away with like really brutal things, and like there's good people who try to speak up, but it's just so much corruption that they just are silenced. So I'm glad that they're using BB in that aspect, and I hope that the commissioner survives. That would really probably break my heart if he actually did end up dying somehow. I loved when I saw Dex come in through the kitchen and he grabbed that like barbecue skewer, but I'm upset that they didn't show us what he did with it. Like that was such a missed opportunity to show us more of his skill. So I'm hoping in the finale we get another really amazing bullseye scene. And I know you guys were talking about like, why did Matt protect Wilson Fisk? I don't think it was his intention. Like, I think it's just, I don't think there was like a rhyme or reason. I think it's just in Matt's nature to just defend someone, whether it's Fisk or like it could have been a civilian. Let's say like Dex was trying to shoot some other person in the ball dancing. Like I think no matter who it was, I think Matt would have jumped in front of that bullet, like no matter who it was. That's just who he is at the end of the day. And that's the foreshadowing that, Dex had said, like in another life, you'd be defending someone like me. That's what good men do. They defend their worst enemies. Like it shows that Matt is a good person and he'll jump in front of a bullet, even if that bullet is targeted at Wilson Fisk, so much happened in that last act 3. Like it was incredible. It was beautiful. There was people were pointing out when Dex was up on the balcony with the sniper. I think it's a sniper. I don't know much about guns. He had a gun. But when, the screen went blue and then like it kind of went into like a fish lens type of situation, and it kind of looked like he was like in the middle of a bullseye because it was all circular. Beautiful. Like, I just love it. I love the directors for doing that. It's just so much attention to detail that we didn't really like. Obviously the Netflix show had so much detail and it was amazing, but I like that they're exploring new avenues of showing these characters and being like, this is Bullseye, like he's blue, everything about him is like dark blue. And then when Matt falls on the ground, I feel like the red in that scene symbolizes, like, I feel like that had to have been like a wake-up call for Matt, like, I need to be Daredevil, like the red and the rage is consuming me. So I love that they use the colors that way to just show who the characters are. And it's so funny that Fist's color is white, because white is such like an innocent color, and yet he's like such an evil character. There's so much I can say about the colors. Even with blue, like blue is such like an emotional color. It has so much depth, like it's calming, but it's also can be like chaotic. So I feel like that speaks to the Bullseye character as well. Like Dex has these moments where he's really humanized and like he's trying to talk to Matt, calling back to like the first act, I guess, or middle act. But then at any moment he can turn into like a crazy chaotic color of blue and just like unleash being Bullseye. So I have no notes for that last act. I loved everything about it. It set up a lot of really good plots that I hope are answered in the finale, but it also makes me wish that this type of thing was like fleshed out in the entire season. Like, this is where I say that you can tell which episodes were pre-overhaul and which episodes were post-overhaul. So I feel like, knowing that these new directors have stepped in and like the new showrunners have stepped in, like I have full faith in the next season. So I have no doubts that the finale is probably going to be even better than this episode.
Sam, do you want to go ahead and give me your 1 through 10 rating on the episode as a closeout for this and your final thoughts?
Of episode 8, just episode 8.
Yeah, episode 8.
I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. 9.5.
Okay. Cyber?
I give the episode I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. Simple fact, it just like kind of what everyone's kind of mentioned. I think that there's some stuff that they could have explained just a tad bit better, but I'll give it a 9.
Okay, Toniann?
I'm gonna go with Sam on this and say like 9.5, 9.6. There's not much that I didn't like about this episode.
Andres?
Sure. I think this was a marginally improvement from episode 7, so I'm gonna give it a 8.5 out of 10. I think it's still good. I like that this episode had more. Well, I was happy to see Bullseye again, so I felt like this felt like a more Netflix like episode from the Daredevil series, and I felt like we were back in that series, which was great, and just paying off a lot of the plot points and setups that we had throughout the season, which either or not it was good or successful as they're trying to do. Well, we had to see how they do it in the finale. Plus, just piggyback Sam about the shot with the Bullseye on Daredevil. I also like it because it also mirrored Foggy's death when he was in the ground. You saw they were doing that was really cool what they did. That was a cool imagery to with similar shots from Foggy's death in episode 1. But yeah, overall great episode. I thought it was better than episode 7. I think the rating for 8.5 out of 10 is a reasonable rating for this episode.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. It was a solid episode, but I would have liked a little bit more action, more hand-to-hand combat. There's been a lack of the hand-to-hand fighting, in the series, unfortunately. That I really liked in the Netflix Daredevil. All that hand-to-hand combat we used to always see. We're not really getting that right now. We'll have to see what happens in the finale. But the Punisher too. I want to see the Punisher again. He was supposed to be in 3 episodes, I thought. And he really hasn't done shit in the show. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see the Punisher again in the finale. Matt just got shot, so I don't see how he's going to be able to be Daredevil, like in episode 9. Personally, like, we'll see what happens. Obviously, you know what I mean. But he's been shot, so like, I'm missing seeing him as Daredevil as well. I like seeing Daredevil on screen, and there's been a lot of Matt Murdock in the show lately. There hasn't been a lot of Daredevil. So that's pretty much all I have. And that's pretty much all we have, I guess, for episode 8 of Daredevil. So ladies, we're going to go ahead and do our plugs and get out of here. I'll start off with your podcast. Whoever wants, Sam, I don't know if you or if Toniann, or if you guys want to team up in doing your plugs, but I'll pull up your podcast and you guys can take over.
All right. Well, Toniann and I are co-hosts of Fangirl Confessions. We talk about all things Marvel, Star Wars, anything fandom. More recently, we've been talking about Daredevil because it's our favorite thing ever. We also talk about anime, but that's mostly Toniann's niche.
Yeah.
My Instagram is On Your Left Sam. And Toniann, you want to give yours?
Yeah, my Instagram is The Scarlet Bruja.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies.
And our Instagram for Fangirl Confessions is Fangirl Confessions Pod.
Yep.
On Instagram. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We appreciate you guys joining us.
Thank you guys. Yeah,
all right.
Fun. Thanks for having us.
Andre's the pop culture guy.
Yeah, well, it was great. Oh, hold on. Okay, I
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
That was first. So, yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, girls, for joining us at the podcast. It was really fun to meet you. Yeah, so just recently, just post the tribute to the Joker version from The Dark Knight because his birthday was last Friday. I put the top 6 Ace Ventura 2 moments. You will check that out. Been doing shorts as lately. So just working on that, which is crazy. Doing very well. Just kind of surprised about that. Check it out. This mostly right now the Dark Knight clips, for Heath during this month because this month is the Joker's 8th anniversary. And then live stream review. I'm sorry I had to postpone it last Sunday. So this Sunday we're gonna have the top MCU phase tier list. So where me and Jeff are gonna rank our least favorite and favorite phases of the MCU from 5 to 1. So but yeah, that's where I'm at right now with my content. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. It was fun.
Thank you, Andres. All right, Cyberneticshark, sir. Wrap us up.
So as always, folks, if you enjoy me here on the panel or if you enjoy when I moderate, you can check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cyberneticshark. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, Patreon. You can find me pretty much anywhere. As you can see here, my most recent 2 videos you can see there is the Novocaine review and teaser trailer reaction of Happy Gilmore 2. I just put those up 2 recently. The Novocaine was a fun film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out that review, guys. It's really fun. I'll be having more reviews and trailer reactions up for you guys soon. I have a whole bunch already filmed. Just need to edit and put up. So keep your eyes out for those. And then, of course, for my shorts, I most recently put up a few there for went and saw Minecraft last Friday. It was really fun. Of course, I just recently watched the 2 Freaky Fridays in preparation for Freakier Friday come out in August. Both films I absolutely love, so I don't mind rewatching them. And then I just recently rewatched both the Cranks because those are fun to watch. Great action-packed films, especially if you're a huge Jason Statham fan. Really fun. And also great cameos from the late, great Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. He makes cameos in those, which is really fun, too, to see. But yeah, if you haven't seen either of those movies, you can check those out. Those are my most recent mini reviews. Like as I always say, I'll be having more of that stuff up for you guys randomly as the days go by. So keep your eyes out looking for that. And just want to thank everyone out there for watching us and keep on watching our stuff. All these different great podcasts that are a part of our great entourage, as we like to call. And of course, thank you for watching the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Keep watching us, keep subscribing, all that kind of good stuff. And thank you, ladies, for coming tonight and joining us on the panel.
Thank you.
Folks. Yes, thank you very much, ladies. Really appreciate you. Thank you to Cyberneticshark, my co-host. Thank you to Andres, the pop culture guy. great job, everybody. That is our review of Daredevil episode 8. We appreciate everybody out there that supports the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Do us a solid. We are a podcast. Follow us, rate us, all that good stuff. In the meantime, we're back again on Friday for God, why am I having such a hard time with this movie? Cyber, what are we doing on Friday? Final Destination. Yes. Cyber is moderating. I am back on the panel. Cyber is moderating on Final Destination on Friday. And then next Friday we have Unforgiven, which I'm really looking forward to doing that one. That's going to be fun. And we got the finale of Daredevil of episode 9 of Daredevil next week. So that'll be great. Ladies, again, it was good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. And we will see you, everybody out there, on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night, guys.
Peace.
Bring the band in.